Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to go over constructing a claim statement, the purpose of the claim statement, and why you're asked to do that. And we call it a claim statement, or a lot of us do, for argumentative writing, because a lot of times in argumentative writing you are claiming something to be true. So you'll also hear it referred to as a proposition statement if you're writing a proposal. And in 112 we do write a proposal, and I sort of interchange those terms, claim statement, proposition. They're very similar, and then they're all sort of cousins of each other with a thesis. A thesis, as you know, is the main sentence of an essay. It features the controlling idea, and it tells the reader exactly what will be proven or included in the essay. So the thesis statement acts as the controlling idea, and it shows what will be in the essay. So with the claim statement and the proposition statement later with the proposal, you are basically showing the reader what side or point of view will be proven in the essay. So I have 3 handouts and I have 3 videos. So I know everybody learns differently, and everybody kind of can attach to different ways of learning. So I sort of have a visual for you, and I have the handouts that you can read. If it were me, I would look at all of them, because I think everyone usually has a lot of trouble writing a thesis statement, and it's something that you improve upon with practice. So really, a claim statement is just a thesis statement with just a slightly different purpose, because you are taking one side or showing a point of view that will be proven. So I encourage you to watch these videos and then go back and look over these handouts. But I'm going to look at the handouts with you and sort of explain a few things. With the claim statement, I do want you to include a claim statement at the top of your annotated bibliography, and you can look back at the student samples to see how other students included that. It usually goes right up under the title of the annotated bibliography. So I think at some point we will do an outline for the proposal, and I like to see the claim statement there too. The reason why is I think that shows the reviewer, me, or whoever's reading your outline, or any document that you're writing, what your main purpose with that research or what that information is going to prove. So a lot of times I will ask that you feature the claim statement at the top of the document if it's more of a technical document like an outline, or in this case an annotated bibliography. Obviously, if it's an essay, your claim statement would be featured in the introduction of the essay, just like a thesis would. So this first handout, it just sort of goes over what a claim is and how to sort of form your claim and how to think about your claim. So a claim persuades, argues, convinces, proves, or suggests something to a reader, something that's going to be proven, and sort of a point of view from the writer. It's not so much an opinion, because opinions are not often easy to prove, but a claim statement has to be supported with research. And it has to be a little bit more authoritative. Like, you have to have the scholarly research to prove it. So you don't want to think of the claim as a win-lose. I try to say that a lot in this class, because if you're thinking about an argument with a friend or a family member, or just an argument over an opinion, a lot of times you are trying to win at any cost, or you feel like it has to be 100% win-lose kind of thing. With argumentative writing, and with your introduction of the claim statement to show the side that will be taken with the argument, you're really trying to just feature that, be upfront with what is trying to be proven, give the reader a roadmap as to what will be included in the argument, and how you will persuade the reader. Persuasion is kind of interesting, because you don't always get 100% persuasion. Sometimes you just convince them of something within your argument that's true, or you may change the way someone thinks about something, but you don't change the way they think about it 100%. Like, they don't completely go over to this other side, but they may consider some things that they haven't considered before. And to me, that's a win. It's good if you persuade even part of the argument because you've made someone think differently. You've opened up their thought process, and that's sort of part of all of this process. So whenever you do argumentative writing or argumentative research, whenever you're trying to convince a reader of something, in an academic setting, you're not always trying, it's not like a battle. You're trying to introduce new ideas in a new way and trying to show them possibilities and a point of view about something. So the rules of academic argument exclude the following as support. So you can't include personal opinions. So when you approach your claim statement, you don't want to ever approach it as an opinion statement. Obviously, in academic writing, I've emphasized that we can't use first person, so it has to be third person, and you're not making any kind of I believe, I feel, I think type of statements, and you want to sort of keep out the opinions. The other thing about argumentative writing, you don't approach it just because everyone in your family believes that, or because my parents said that was true. That's okay in your personal life if that's how you come to conclusions, and we all have family members that we adore and listen to and we use as advisors, and that is fine. But in the academic setting, you have to prove things through scholarly research, and it has to be something that was published and approved and peer-reviewed and all those things that we've talked about with research. You also can't just say it has to be that way because it's always been that way. So traditions are great. I myself enjoy traditions, family traditions, things that I've cherished my whole life. But when I do academic writing, I can't just argue that it has to be that way because it's been that way for the last 20 years. With argumentative writing, oftentimes new research can prove something new about a topic, and it can open up a new conversation or a thought process about that topic. You can't always assume that what is obvious to you is obvious to everyone else. So that's one of the things in some of my feedback to you as you respond to prompts and things. I'm always saying you can't just brush the surface. You can't assume that everything is obvious. We all come to each situation with a different set of experiences, a different set of knowledge, and what is obvious to us is not always obvious to someone else. And I think we see this a lot in our communication with friends and family, loved ones, that oftentimes we think it's very clear what we've said or what we've asked someone to do, and then they do the complete opposite. And oftentimes it's just the communication has been skewed in some way, or the person's experiences don't lend themselves to understanding it the same way that maybe you understand it. That's okay. There's not a right or wrong to that. It's just you have to realize with your communication that you have to be clear, precise, exact. You have to explain everything. You have to support everything. You also can't bring in morals to an academic argument. Morals are difficult to prove in an academic setting. I am not here to say stop all your morality or stop any kind of moral compass that you keep in your personal life. That is very sacred to many of us, and I think morals are good, but you can't bring that into an academic argument because we all have different sets of morals. We all have different backgrounds and beliefs that we hold dear, and oftentimes they're different. And they're difficult to prove because it is such a personal thing. And oftentimes morality is based on faith. Faith is easy to prove if you're within that faith and if you're using certain things that you hold dear within that faith. But in an academic setting, it just does not fit. And so just be careful with that. So what a claim is it is the main argument of an essay that is trying to persuade its audience. It's probably the single most important part of an academic paper. This is true whether you're calling it a thesis, a claim, a proposition, whatever you're calling it. That is the center stone. That is the soul of the paper. That's the one thing that everything else connects to. And if you don't have that, then your reader is sort of lost. Think of it like if you were out driving on the highway and you've never been on that highway before and there are no road signs, there are no directions, your GPS is broken. Oftentimes when we go on a trip, we have a destination, we know where we're going, and we have a plan to get there. That's sort of how a claim, thesis, or proposition work, because we're trying to have an end result that is trying to be proven and trying to be supported, and we have to present that in the introduction. And we have to present that as sort of the driving force of our research and sort of our why. A lot of times we talk about this, like, what is your why? Why are you doing that? What is your purpose in life? And so a claim statement is the purpose of the whole research project, the whole paper that you're writing. A claim defines your paper's goals, direction, scope, the entire existence of it. Like, why are you doing it? You support that with evidence, quotations, data, expert opinion, statistics, narratives from case studies that have been used to do some sort of study on a topic. In this handout, it mentions paper, but remember in English 112, we have one topic, and all of our research and all of our assignments center around that one research project. So sometimes I don't want you just to concentrate on thinking there's one paper in the whole class. There really are many writing projects and many introductory general writing assignments that you'll do with that one topic and with the research that you'll gather over the course of the semester. A claim must be argumentative. Again, don't think of it as a win-lose situation or an argument like you're mad at someone. Argumentative in academic terms just means that you're trying to persuade, that you're taking a side of something, that you have a point of view about the topic. If you were writing a compare-contrast paper, like you probably did in English 111, then you tried to balance the two sides and you tried to treat them equally. With argumentative writing, you concentrate more on one point of view or one side of an argument or one side of an issue. You're trying to prove something about it and you're trying to convince your reader. When you make a claim, you are arguing for a certain interpretation or understanding of the topic. A good claim is specific, and you need to focus your argument, and you don't need to be general. So, for instance, MTV's popularity is waning because it no longer plays music videos. A lot of you may not realize this, but back a long time ago, MTV was a complete music channel 24/7. And they just played music videos. These days, they show movies, they have shows, and they do many things. And it's called music television, but it has a lot of different types of programming. If you can't really prove that MTV sucks because that's an opinion. So with claim statements, you're not focusing so much on an opinion, you're focusing on the point of view that will be proven. So you have to be careful with that. Fact and opinion are two different things. I'm not going to read this entire handout to you, but one thing you want to focus on if you go back and review the handout would be that sometimes descriptive thesis statements work well with certain types of writing, but they don't argue anything. So a lot of times in English 111, if you wrote, or in another class, if you wrote something, you may just have an informative thesis statement or something that was more descriptive about how the story was going to be told. Maybe it was more creative. With an argumentative claim, it's more academic in tone, it's more formal, and it definitely shows what side of the issue will be taken and will be proven in the essay or in the paper or document that's being written. In this case, for English 112, we're sort of starting with a working claim in the annotated bibliography, and then we all can agree that that's going to shift slightly as you do more research, as you gain more knowledge about the research topic that you're working with this semester. And so oftentimes I'll reference it as a working claim because I know that you're going to shift a little bit or change it up a little bit or rephrase some things, tweak it as you go, and that's okay. It needs to be a fluid process up until the point of the proposal that you'll write. So for the annotated bibliography, I just want you to try your hand at it and to write a claim to show what side of the argument you will be researching and what you'll be trying to prove. A lot of times in English 112, we talk about the issue and the solution. So I've asked you to sort of research an issue within your career field or college major, and then you're coming up with a solution for how to handle that. So again, remember that we're not trying to talk about how to do a job, but we're trying to look for an issue within that career. For instance, as a college instructor, I would not want to just argue that instructors shouldn't have to teach so many students. Like maybe I would argue that college instructors should only teach 3 classes. In a model that would be similar to public school teachers who teach 3 classes and have a planning period. That's more of a complaint about my job more than a solution to a problem, unless I can make a claim about how we could better retain students if teachers didn't teach as many classes or something like that. You just have to be careful that it's not just a complaint about doing the job. It has to be a purpose and how to solve a problem. So when we had the pandemic, with COVID-19, we had a lot of issues with trying to figure out how to retain students, how to meet the needs of students, how to develop class strategies for online learning and for synchronous learning. And that would be something that possibly could be researched to see how students learn in those environments. And then you would come up sort of with a side of what you were trying to prove. So anyway, I'm going to let you read through this part because there are some examples in there. The next part of the handout talks about what is an opinion versus what is an arguable claim. So we'll go through a few of these. So if I stated that Twinkies are delicious, then that's an opinion because everyone doesn't like Twinkies. Everyone can't eat Twinkies. So someone that maybe has diabetes, or in my case, celiac disease, I can't have gluten products. I can't even eat a Twinkie. So I don't even know if I could properly say if they're delicious or not. So that is an opinion, and that would not be something that you would use as a claim. I like dance music. Again, everybody doesn't like to dance. That's a personal opinion. I think Virginia Woolf is better than James Joyce. Again, personal opinion, personal view of something. The governor is a bad man. You can debate that with your friends, but that is not a proper claim. Okay, so here we're going to take those ideas and then sort of show some different ways to reshape them. So Twinkies taste better than other snack cakes because of their texture, their creamy filling, and their golden appearance. In this case, we've shaped sort of an opinion that they're delicious into something that could possibly be proven. Of course, you're not going to do this for an academic paper in English 111, but even if you were talking with friends and you wanted to prove that Twinkies were really good, you would have to find some kind of criteria, something that you could base that claim on. So in this case, they're looking at the texture and the filling and the appearance of the Twinkie. Dance music has become popular for reasons that have nothing to do with the quality of music. Rather, the clear, fast beats respond to the need of people on amphetamines to move quickly. So in that case, it looks like they're going to talk about the reasons why dance music has become more popular, and then they've set some criteria for that. So I'm not going to read all of this to you, but you can look back at the handout. An argument is supported by evidence which can be debated or challenged. Someone who was reading your research may say, oh, well, there's another set of research out there. I'm going to reference that as well. But you've presented the best set of research that you can find to prove your side of the issue. So a claim can be substantiated with research evidence, testimony, and academic reasoning. It needs to be logical, and it needs to be something that can be supported fully. A claim is something more than a statement and support. An arguable claim also goes on to address the so what. Again, I sort of say the purpose or the why of why you're choosing that side of the argument. Remember that not all claims are created equal, and though a claim may be arguable, the best claims are focused, specific. Specific is the key. Make sure that whatever you're saying, you have phrased it with the most specific terms possible. You don't want to leave a lot of open-ended ideas for your reader to attach in a different way. You don't want them to misinterpret what you're trying to prove. Complex and relevant. Whenever you make a claim, you need to realize that there are two sides to every argument, and you need to be prepared to understand the counterclaim. The counterclaim is whatever the opposing viewpoint is from what you're claiming. If you are writing your claim and there is no counterclaim, then your claim is not valid. So your claim has to take a side, and again, there have to be two sides. You're going to feature your side in the proposal that we'll write down the road. You're going to feature your side with the research that you gather. But then as we approach the proposal, you're going to have to consider the counterclaim in a small way, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But an arguable claim has to have two sides, and you have to, as the researcher, realize those two sides. Years ago, I had a student who wanted to be a special ed teacher, and she chose to research the fact that mainstreaming or integrating students with special needs into a traditional classroom was not effective for a good majority of students. Now, that's sort of not a very popular opinion, because a lot of people believe that in the education world, that integrating students with special needs into the traditional classroom, it helps the students in the traditional classroom understand disabilities and understand challenges that other people may face, and it makes them more empathetic and better people as a whole. And then also with the people with the disabilities, it helps them feel part of the traditional classroom and not just shoved off to the side in some way. Of course, there are exceptions to everything, and that's where the counter argument comes in, because someone with a severe anxiety disability or a severe autism, they may not do well with a lot of noise, or they may not do well with a lot of people in a room with them. And of course, that would be the exception in most cases. But anyway, she researched the fact that these students should not be fully integrated into the traditional classroom. But we got to the proposal, and she researched this all semester, and she ended up coming to me and saying, I think I would rather prove my counterclaim than actually what I've researched. Is that okay? And I let her flip. So she still stayed with the research, but she had found more research to prove that students should be integrated into the traditional classroom if they had disabilities than not to be included. And then she included whatever that little bit of research that said that there were exceptions to integrating those students as her counterclaim. So these are things we're going to talk about as we move through all of these assignments, but these are things to consider as you write your claim statement. All right. This handout gives some examples of different claims, and so we can probably move on from there. Okay. The next handout, I'm going to go to the Duke University. This is from the Duke University Writing Center. I really like the Duke University Writing Center and the UNC Writing Center. A lot of times I'll pull information from them because they do a pretty good job with handouts and giving concise information on writing. So in this handout, it does define what a thesis is. And like I said, we're sort of interchanging some of these terms because a thesis and a claim statement do very similar things. They just sometimes have slightly different purposes, slightly different jobs. A thesis can be information only, and a claim statement has to prove one side of something. So again, this is reiterating the idea that a thesis is the central claim or main argument of an essay. As you move forward in your college level writing, you may encounter instructors who interchange these terms in different ways. So that's why I try to present you with the different options of what you would call this one statement. And it is one statement. So if I ask for a claim, I don't want to see 3 sentences. I need one sentence. It needs to be concise, and it needs to clearly say what will be proven with the research. You don't want to make it an announcement, so you don't want to say something like, I will prove, because obviously you can't use first person, but you also don't want to state something like, this will be proven because that's just sort of announcing. You want to write a clear and concise thesis style claim statement where you're just showing one side of the issue. This even says the term thesis statement often misleads students into thinking a central claim must be stated in a single sentence. This is Duke University, and they're saying that you can have it more complex and you can have multiple sentences. That is true. If you go to graduate school, there's probably a chance that you're going to have a multi-sentence claim statement or a multi-sentence proposition or thesis. We're in English 112, and I'm trying to make your writing concise, and I'm trying to get you to be purposeful with your writing, so I would like for you to keep it to one sentence. This handout goes into how to draft and work with your claim and develop it further. And then down here, it starts to talk about how to evaluate your claim. And this is something that I think is very important to pay attention to. So first of all, you want to ask, is it contestable? That's the thing I was talking about. Is there another side to the issue? If you discover that there's not, then you don't have a good claim. All right. Next, you want to ask yourself, is it reasonable? Is it something that is believable? Is it something that is not so far-fetched that no one would understand what you're trying to prove? So ask yourself, is it reasonable? Next, are you being specific? You have to be very concise and very specific with your claim statement so that it's very clear to whoever's reading it what your position on that topic is. And in this handout, it gives you some different examples, and we're not going to go through those because you can read those. Ask yourself if your claim is significant. You want to consider the context of what you're trying to do and the purpose of what you're trying to do. And have you made a significant statement? You don't want to state fact. You don't want to state the obvious. You want to state something that shows sort of a proper thought pattern with the topic. You want to show something that is unique to the situation. Don't just state the same thing that everybody just over and over talks about. You want to show sort of a unique perspective. Ask yourself if it's interpretive. Can someone decipher what you're trying to prove with your claim? As I've stated, we will be revising that claim multiple times as you gather more information, as you get a better understanding of your own claim and your own research. Probably the claim that you put with your annotated bibliography will be tweaked and edited and revised as you move towards the proposition later in the semester. There are some templates here. I don't know that they would work for what we're doing. I think the best way to sort of see some examples would be to go to the annotated bibliographies that I've offered for the student samples and to see how they wrote their claim statements. I'll put some really good ones in there, and I think that'll help you see how you can craft your own claim statement. And then finally, there's a third handout, and this is about framing your argument with your claim. Of course, this is probably going to be the one that takes the longest to open. There it goes. While this is loading, I really like the videos that I chose. They're fairly short, and you should be able to watch them quickly, and I think that will reiterate some of the things that I've talked about, and I think that it'll help you understand how to write your claim statement further. And I don't expect you to know how to write a claim statement well the first time you do it. I think you need to write a couple of drafts of it, and you need to continuously consider if it meets the needs of the research that you're trying to prove. Okay, once again, the claim, obviously is a thesis, so you'll see that interchanged with the information in the handout. In the case of English 112, you do have to show sort of a debatable topic. You have to show something that has two sides. You're hoping that whoever reads your research will believe it and understand it and possibly be persuaded to the side that you're arguing. So this goes through and sort of categorizes different ways to write a claim. So claims of fact or definition. We're not doing that as much in this class. There is an argumentative type of paper that is a definition paper. It's when you're trying to take a term and you're trying to define it so that people understand that term better. A lot of times those will be written for changes in the way people perceive words or phrases. Martin Luther King Jr. Was arrested in Birmingham, and I don't know the year, but I want to say it was like 1968 maybe. I may be off by a year. But he was arrested for civil disobedience during the civil rights movement. And he had actually, ironically, been invited to Birmingham to speak along with some other pastors. And when he got there, he was arrested for being disobedient. And so while he was in jail, he wrote sort of a definition, claim, proposal, argumentative essay about what civil disobedience really was. Like, could you change the way people thought? Did you always have to act as people did, 50 years prior? Or could you redefine what civil disobedience was and how we should change the way we think of that? And he also went in, and because he was invited as a clergy member, tried to show that some of the ways they defined Christianity was probably not fitting the needs of the church. So that was a very thing. It's called Letter from Birmingham Jail, and if you've never read it, you can even find some dramatizations of it on YouTube, and it's a very famous letter that he wrote, and it was published in some newspapers during his during that time in history. That's a time that something was redefined. Sometimes a claim will show a cause and effect. We're not doing that as much in this class. We're really just showing one side of something. We're doing more of this. We're doing something about showing a solution to a problem. So in this area, I think that you can maybe get some additional information about maybe something that fits better with what we're doing in this class. Sometimes you can claim something of value, and this might be helpful too with what you're writing. I think 3 and 4 for this handout will help you a little bit as you consider how you want to write your claim and how you want to phrase it and what you're trying to do to convince your reader, to the side that you're trying to prove to the solution. So hopefully this little handout will help. I think it's important to realize that there are different types of argumentative writing, and we can't possibly cover them all in this class, so we've sort of chosen to concentrate more on the proposal aspect and convincing and persuading the reader rather than doing something like a definition argument. But that doesn't mean you won't be in another class like a history class or a philosophy class or something like that when you're asked to do an assignment. So it's very important to understand. So hopefully just this little video will help you understand what I'm asking you to do. Again, you do have to include a claim statement in your annotated bibliography. And then you will use that claim as you move into the assignments that follow the annotated bibliography, and then it'll be featured in your proposal, which again comes a little later in the semester. So watch the videos, work on your claim statement, let me know if you have any questions. Also, do not hesitate to use the Academic Skills Center at JCC. We have some excellent tutors, and you do have to go to them with a draft of some sort. They're not going to write it for you, but they will help go over it to help you tweak it and make it more polished. They have both virtual and I think face-to-face opportunities, but you do have to make an appointment. So good luck with writing your claim, and I look forward to seeing what you do with your topic and your claim.